What is going on, my homies? Dude, it is hot. Bog is back in the AC, staying cool. He's ready for fall, but he's sleeping all day for now, dude. But we're out here, and I've been playing with a new bait. You guys all know I love that loaded swim bait from Bass Mafia. The one where like the hook slides out, dude. I've caught multiple like 9+ pounders. It's great for forward facing. It's good for like ledge fishing. It's even kind of a sneaky deal for like ripping out of the grass. You actually reel it and tick the grass and you like rip it. It's a cool deal, dude. It's a very functional swim bait. So when Bass Mafia kind of puts something out there, I'm interested. They just dropped this guy, and this is the Boss. So it's basically a trap, right? So obviously my interests are peaked there too, because I love lipless fishing. We're not there, but in about 2 months, we're gonna be going like that, wearing hoodies, dude. So I wanna break this thing down and do a little review for you, because this trap is not your standard trap. It has some very kind of interesting, and I would even say like weird features that almost make it more like another kind of bait than a lipless crankbait. So hit that like and subscribe button for me. If you guys love lipless and you're waiting for that cooler weather, this review is gonna be for you. So I've been playing around with this joker today, and it comes in a 5/8 and a 7/8 ounce. So it's pretty standard, kind of like trap sizes, pretty badass colors too, right? So one of the cool features is these finishes. That like red gold right there, dude, that's a Florida killer. That's a Gunnersville killer. There's some standard, more shad kind of style colors. This is like a prism kind of like white. It's got that iridescent glimmer in it. The colors are super cool, but you know, a lot of people make like cool colors. And what's really unique and kind of weird about this guy is the head design. So this is one of the fattest kind of flat parts on the tip of a trap that I've ever seen or I've ever fished. It's super broad, dude. And there's benefits and there's negatives to that. The other kind of funky feature on this thing is it has a recessed line tie. You can see there's a little kind of like vein right in there. Supposedly on the hook like hanger right there, it's so that it doesn't get hung on cover as much. But I really kind of, I think the head sort of speaks more to how it fishes through cover and what it does more than any aspect of this bait. So the fact is that the bait behaves like a square bill, dude. I threw it around today. I actually caught some great big ones on it, kind of yo-yoing it. We have this summer technique where we do this kind of like soft yo-yo, not so much ripping it, but it's just kind of yo-yoing it, almost like soft tugging a spoon. Instead of like jerking it too hard, you kind of like lift it and let it flutter down. You can do that same thing with a trap late summer with all the bait going around. But back to the review. So the point is, with this broad head, you get a lot of water resistance, and what it ends up doing is causing that tail to wag much more than the front of the bait. So the head stays semi-still, but that tail just goes back and forth, back and forth. Now there's some benefits and there's some negatives to that. One, I can fish this trap slower than any other trap I've ever fished, dude. It literally takes nothing to make this thing shake, which is gonna be really cool during the cooler months. The negative, the trap can wash out. So the Boss can kind of, when you're reeling it super fast, it can wash out and roll. So like any trap though, this is really geared towards that October, November, January, pre-spawn, you know? It's geared towards those cooler months. So for the most part, I'm not fishing this thing super fast, so I'm not super worried about it. The other negative is with the broad head, when you're around thick grass, you know, we'll rip a trap down here in Florida, like in super thick grass, and that will catch up and ball up. A lot of times with a skinnier trap, you're able to kind of rip that thing through the grass. However, in sort of like the strandy eelgrass, some of the dying grass and that we see during the winter when we're fishing up north, I don't see a problem, dude. And really the benefit outweighs any kind of problem it's gonna cause, because I can slow roll this thing, dude, like nothing. And it's sort of stalls, I guess, for lack of a better word. It doesn't rise or dive, it sort of stalls just with a little bit of pressure. So I can keep this thing in a foot or two of water with just a slight reel tension. I use like a 7.3 medium. It's a Halo XD3. It's a little softer rod, but still graphite. But if I point that thing at a 45 and just give it that slow retrieve with like a 7-speed reel, I can keep that thing suspended and just shaking ever so slightly above the bottom. And it's absolutely sick, dude. And that's really the key to some of that kind of like late season, you know, late fall, early winter kind of trap bite, is making that bait kind of ever so slowly kind of just get caught on something and pop it through or reel it through. And that leads to another kind of cool thing. So with this head, it behaves like a square bill, like I was saying. So it has this sort of like downward head motion, and the head leads the way, but the tail is really where the wag is at. So what's actually interesting is the head becomes a really strong deflection point for any type of cover. Where I do see this thing absolutely excelling is gravel, shell bars, stumps, tree stuff. Because this head is going to provide a deflection point that's going to guard those hooks and deflect this bait off while still getting that sort of like that tail wag action. I think it's gonna be great for hard cover, dude. Now, I don't have a bunch of like trees and stuff to do it with here. We actually fished it on some shell bars here where we just kind of slow dragged it and slow rolled it across those bars, and it was freaking sick, dude. Now, there's one other feature that this head causes, or this action kind of like resultant of the head. So basically, a lot of times, you know, you're gonna pop a trap, right? You're gonna pop it out of the grass, you're just gonna pop it off the bottom to get that reaction strike. A lot of guys really like a vibrating fall, almost like a Senko, right? So you pop the trap up and then it wiggles as it goes down. During those colder months, I don't want that. I kind of want like a more dead kind of fall, a very subtle fall. And so I was playing around with this thing, doing some kind of like jerk retrieves next to the boat and seeing what it does underwater. And what ends up happening is you have a very broad head, right? Wide head, it thins down in the tail. However, the bottom part of the body is really tapered down, right? It's almost like a triangle. So it's widest on the top and then it tapers down. So the bait actually glides, dude. So when you kill it and you semi-tight line it, almost like what you do with a Kitech, you know, you're reeling and then you just kill it. You stop your reeling, you kill it, but you don't really kind of give it slack. You just kind of let it go and glide down. That's exactly what this Boss does, dude. So you're reeling, you kind of give it a pop, and then it can be semi-slack, but not super duper slack. It will just glide to the bottom, dude. Slightly moving forward, but not going straight down. And that's absolutely sick, dude. Especially for like dying shad patterns, maybe like a darting crayfish that darts down back into the grass. That is absolutely killer. So I'm kind of stoked about some of these features. Like I said, I see it having a few issues in the super thick grass, but the strandy stuff like we were throwing around out here, the hard bottom situations, stumps, absolute exceller, dude. And the way the action is pronounced, where it acts more like a square bill than a trap, I think a lot of guys, I'm somewhat of a square bill guy, but I'm not like the expert Archie square bill guy. But I think some guys who really like throwing a square bill are gonna be able to figure out some other cool ways to kind of manipulate this thing and do some fun stuff with it. But it's kind of a cool bait, dude. I'll put a link to it down in the description box for you guys to check out. It's the Bass Mafia Boss. Like I said, 5/8 and 7/8, your standard trap sizes. But let me know if you guys have tried it. It just came out. Trap season is around the corner. I don't want to wish summer away, dude. I'm enjoying the heat. I'm dangling a minnow, throwing a spoon, throwing a hair jig, smashing them, dude. But when we do get that colder weather, late September, October, and trap season starts, this guy's going to be a player, and it's going to be definitely a kind of a unique selection in your box. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. I'm going to go slang on a few and try to pull on some.